This is the Main Street Preps High School Football Preview Show presented by the Tennessee Highway Safety Office. Fans don't let fans drive drunk.
It's Thursday, and that means high school football is right around the corner. This is the Main Street Preps High School Football Preview Show presented by the Tennessee Highway Safety Office, where fans don't let fans drive drunk. Let's hear about what's going on in and around Middle Tennessee from each of the writers in the Main Street Preps Network. We've got folks from Lebanon to Houston County, from Portland to Pulaski, keeping you covered each and every week. Find out what's going to happen tonight and tomorrow across the mid-state in high school football. Now, without further ado, let's start in Murray County with Maurice Patton, who has this week's update from there.
Hey, I'm Maurice Patton, sports editor at Main Street Murray. We are down to the final 2 weeks of the high school football regular season, which means that we've got some matchups in week 10 with direct postseason implications. Let's start at Independence as the host Eagles, 2-6 overall, 1-2 in Region 6-6A action, host visiting Brentwood, the Bruins 7-1. 3-0. Independence's 2 wins have come in their last 2 outings as the Eagles went to Overton and won 37-0 3 weeks ago in a region matchup. Then after an open date, went to Fairview and won 30-0. So again, Independence on a 2-game streak, looking to extend that with a win at home against a really tough Brentwood team and kind of boost their playoff hopes with a 6-6A victory here. Non-region action, Columbia Central goes to James Lawson. The Lions have also won their last 2, both region matchups with Spring Hill and Franklin County. Again, this is not a region matchup, but the Lions are 5-3 with those back-to-back victories. Lawson is 2-6 on the year, has lost their last 5 games, and Central could really take some momentum into their regular season finale at region rival Lincoln County with a win Friday night at James Lawson. In Division 2A middle region play, Columbia Academy hosts Mount Juliet Christian. The Bulldogs have not played since their 45-7 loss to Nashville Christian, which dropped them to 5-3 overall, 2-1 in region play. Mount Juliet Christian's 4-4 overall, but has not won in region play. They are 0-3, the Saints are. So chance for Columbia Academy to get some momentum going as well before their regular season and region finale at Grace Christian of Franklin in week 11. Huge Region 5 2A matchup for Mount Pleasant as the Tigers try to stop a 3-game skid when they visit Hickman County on Friday night. The Tigers 5-3 overall, 3-2 in region play. Hickman County is 2-6 overall, 1-4 in region play. Another team on a streak, Hickman County has won its last 2 outings as well. They've defeated Cheatham County and Waverly. One of those a region matchup. Of course, Cheatham County and Waverly are 0-16 on the season. Again, Mount Pleasant trying to stop a 3-game skid with 2 of those losses coming in region action and can ill afford another loss given the logjam for second place in Region 5-2A. So this is a big road trip for Mount Pleasant. Another non-region matchup has Summit hosting Nolensville. The Knights coming in at 6-2, Summit coming in at 2-6, and this one may be a matter of who gets caught looking ahead because Nolensville closes out the regular season with a huge region matchup against undefeated Page. Summit closes out the regular season with a matchup against Independence that would likely determine the 4th playoff team out of Region 6-6A. So both these teams need to kind of keep their heads screwed on this week and get ready for huge matchups in week 11. Finally, in Region 5-5A action, Spring Hill travels to Tullahoma. The Raiders 1-7 overall, 0-4 in region play. Tullahoma 5-3 and 3-1. Spring Hill pretty much eliminated from playoff consideration at this point. Tullahoma trying to solidify its playoff chances. Right now they sit as the number 3 team in that region. possibly a chance to move up. We'll see how that goes. But again, Spring Hill goes to Tullahoma, and that rounds out this week's schedule, Week 10 in and around Maury County. I'm Maurice Patton, sports editor of Main Street Maury. We'll see y'all next week.
Let's go over now to Rutherford County, where Monte Hale has you set with his Murfreesboro area report.
I'm Monte Hale, sports editor of the Murfreesboro Post. Week 10 is here of high school football, meaning there's only 1 week of a regular season remaining after tonight. Got a couple big games this week. PCA and MTCS. The winner of this will probably be the number two seed out of their region and to the playoffs. PCA was off last week. MTCS got a good win. MTCS has gotten better and better. PCA, though, they've got a fine football team. Laverne at Stewart's Creek. You look at this game, Stewart's Creek, just the overwhelming favorite. And they've got so much to play for. If they win this, they'll clinch the regular season title and the number 1 seed in the playoffs. For Laverne, it's mainly been a struggle offensively. They scored 52 points all season. They played some very good defense at times, however. Antioch at Smyrna, also a big game in terms of seeding for the playoffs. Both teams with a couple losses in region play. But this should be a really outstanding game. I think you've got a high-scoring, at times, offense in Antioch, and you've got a more of a defensive, grinded-out team in Smyrna. Rockville goes to Blackman. Huge game for Blackman, huge game for Rockville. Despite the fact that they're 1 and 2 in the district, they still got a good chance to make the playoffs, albeit a 4th seed. Blackman, they're just kind of waiting to see how everything else shapes up, but they got to go out and take care of their business. This is a game you would look at and say, Blackman's obviously favored. However, Rockville, they're a hard team to finish. You think they're going to win and they lose. You think they're going to lose and they win. So, big shake-up there. All right, probably the game of the night across the state of Tennessee. It's not a region game. It's Ravenwood at Oakland. 2 great defenses. Ravenwood's given up like 40 points all season. Both teams have common opponents. They beat Blackman in very close games. And I think that this could be a prelude to possibly a matchup for the state title this year. Now that we got a long way to go for that, and there's certainly several other teams that will have a say-so in that. But you've got the number 1 ranked team in Oakland. You've got the number 3 ranked team in Ravenwood. Should be a great Friday night for football and a great high school football game. And again, remember, if you lose this game, it's I'm not going to say it's no big deal, but it's not the end of the world. And if you win it, you haven't done anything but beat a really, really good opponent. What matters, obviously, is what happens inside your region and where you get seeded for the playoffs. But both of these teams look like number 1 seeds. So, again, this is Week 10. Next week, we wrap it all up. We get to November, and we start the first round of the TSSAA state playoffs. Again, I'm Monte Hale, sports editor of the Murfreesboro Post.
Thanks, Monty, as always. We'll take our first break right now. When we come back, more previews from around the mid-state here on the Main Street Media High School Football Preview Show presented by the Tennessee Highway Safety Office. Stay tuned.
He shoots, and he scores!
At Delta Dental of Tennessee, we know our success begins and ends with providing superior quality service, and that includes serving those who need it most. This year, we're celebrating 25 years of giving back to the community we call home. Delta Dental, along with our Smile 180 Foundation, supports Tennessee's dental colleges and oral health education, children's hospitals, free and reduced cost dental clinics, and other like-minded charities. Here's to the next 25 plus years of ensuring healthy smiles.
Welcome back into the Main Street Preps High School Football Preview Show right here on Main Street Media Television each and every week on Thursdays. Thanks for hanging out with us. We've got more from around the mid-state to get you prepared for what's going to happen tonight and tomorrow in high school football around Middle Tennessee. Let's go to Wilson County where Tommy Bryan has you covered.
Hello, everybody. This is Tommy Bryan, sports editor of the Wilson Post in Lebanon, and I've got a look at what's going on in high school football, Week 10 of the TSSAA season. Headlining Friday's schedule in Wilson County, Green Hill will be undefeated as they take on Cookeville in a Region 4 6A contest in Mount Juliet. Green Hill stands undefeated at 8-0 following last Friday's 38-0 win at Laverne. Cookeville comes in 7-1. They're winners of 3 in a row after downing Lincoln County 31-14 last week. The bottom two teams in Region 4 6A will get together Friday night in Gladeville as Wilson Central tangles with Warren County at Wildcat Stadium. It's senior night for Wilson Central. Wilson Central stands 2-6 overall and 0-4 in the region after last Friday's 48-13 loss to Gallatin at Calvin Short Field. The Wildcats are hoping to snap a 5-game losing streak against the winless Pioneers, who come to town 0-8, 0-5 in the region. Until last Friday's loss to Tullahoma by a score of 32-7, Warren County had been shut out in 6 consecutive games by a combined score of 257-0. The final home game we've got cranked up is undefeated Mount Juliet playing host to Franklin High School at Roger Perry Field as the Golden Bears celebrate senior night. Mount Juliet escaped Lebanon with a late touchdown in the final minutes for a 21-14 win over the Blue Devils, improving to 8-0 and 5-0 in the region. Franklin comes in 4-4, but they've lost 2 in a row, including a 28-7 loss at Ravenwood. Last year, Franklin upset Mount Juliet in that sandwich game between Lebanon and Green Hill, and you can bet the Golden Bears won't be taking the Admirals for granted. 4 Wilson County football teams are on the road as Lebanon travels to Sumner County to take on Hendersonville in a non-region contest. Live radio coverage begins at 6:30 on WANT FM 98.9, kickoff at 7 at Memorial Stadium. Friendship Christian takes a record of 5-3 to Antioch, where the Commanders will tackle Ezel Harding, losers of 3 in a row. Ezel Harding stands 2-6 on the year. Watertown, fresh off a thrilling 45-44 win at Grundy County last week, are on the road once again as they play at Class 4A Macon County High School. The Purple Tigers are 2-6. Macon County is 6-2. And finally, Mount Juliet Christian Academy plays at 5-3 Columbia Academy in a Division II Class A Middle Region football game. That's a look at the high school football action for Friday, October 25, involving Wilson County's football team. I'm Tommy Bryan, and I will talk to you later.
Tommy, as always, we greatly appreciate it. Love seeing that mug each and every week on TV. Let's go now to Sumner County, where Blaine Kellar is standing by.
There are a few games within the Sumner County area this week that aren't necessarily region games, but hold major playoff implications when it comes to postseason seeding. I'm Sumner County Sports Editor Blaine Kellar here to break those down and more. We'll start with the big one across our 8-game schedule, that being huge rivalry series between Portland and Westmoreland, the 7-1 Eagles have played great. Their running game has been strong with Cade Perry and Cooper White. Cade's brother, Cooper Perry, has been another athlete. And that duo, twin brother duo, a big part of their dad, Chad Perry's success this season as head coach. Their defense has been solid. The running game, as I mentioned, really impressive. They're looking for their 8th straight win going up against the Panthers. They've picked up a couple of wins consecutively now against Portland in this rivalry. But the Panthers have a ton to play for on Friday, despite this not being an in-league game. Dropping that contest last week to Hendersonville in the final minute made things a lot more difficult for their postseason route. Portland needs to win against Westmoreland and close out its regular season with a win against Hunters Lane in order to enforce a tiebreaker. They're still going to need some help to get to that tiebreaker, with Springfield and Henry County having games coming up and hoping to get some losses along the way from those teams to enforce a three-way tiebreaker for the 3rd and 4th place spots in the playoffs. But Portland, most importantly, and I'm sure Coach Hunter Hicks is echoing this to his team right now, you got to win these next 2 games. You got to win the one that's right in front of you too. So that will be a fun one to catch on Friday in Portland. That big rivalry game. And speaking of rivalries, rivalry renewed between Gallatin and Springfield. As I mentioned, Springfield, a part of that 3-team logjam in Region 7 5A, they also need to win at least one of their last 2 to make things difficult down the stretch. Gallatin still looking to avoid a losing season under second-year coach Michael Straub, and they find themselves in the hunt for a Region 4 6A playoff spot as well. Coach Michael Straub told me this week that our playoffs start today, start 2 weeks earlier, needing to win these next 2 in order to find a spot in the Class 6A playoffs. Other playoff implications include Liberty Creek on the road at Maplewood after a week and a half layover. They played last Monday at Stratford. Their next game was, I believe, 10 or 11 days later, going now up against Maplewood with a 5-3A postseason spot still in the balance. There's a couple of home games in Sumner County this week. Station Camp hosts Montgomery Central, and Beach takes on Hunters Lane in Region 7 5A action. White House looks to stop its losing skid against 5-4A champion Pearl Cone. JB2 looking to continue its revenge tour at Chattanooga Christian, and believe it or not, we might have coverage of that one because of the girls' soccer state championships happening Saturday. The plan is for me to be there 2 hours east for a game and then cover the state championships the next day. So busy weekend ahead for us and our team. Glad to do it though. 3 more on the schedule, as I mentioned. Hendersonville taking on Lebanon, Gallatin hosting Springfield, and Portland up against its rival in Westmoreland. To look at the games ahead in our coverage area, as always, we will have photos and stories for you for the Main Street Preps, for the Gallatin News, Hendersonville Standard, and Portland Sun. Be sure to check it out there. Catch us on social media where we'll have updates. We'll kick it back to you guys.
Thanks, Blaine. Always a pleasure to hear from you. We'll go over now to Robertson County, where David Wilson has you covered with a report.
Everybody, this is David Wilson, sports reporter for the Robertson County Connection, here to give you a quick preview of all the Week 10 games across the Robertson County areas this week as we enter the penultimate week of the regular season. We have a two really big non-region matchups in the area this week, and the first one is a showcase of talent that everybody across the area has been talking about for weeks. It's East Robertson, the 7-1 Indians, traveling down the road to face White House Heritage, who is 6-2 on the year and riding a 5-game winning streak. East Robertson won this matchup last year by a final score of 49-21, but that was with Mr. Football winner Isaiah Groves suiting up for the Indians. He is, of course, out for this matchup this week as he tore his ACL all the way back in week 1. White House Heritage have been absolutely on fire lately and have set themselves up to potentially win a region championship next week as they play host to Fairview in the final week of the year. East Robertson has already guaranteed themselves a second-place finish in their region. They fell to Westmoreland several weeks ago, and Westmoreland has since clinched last week with a victory. So East Robertson's still trying to build some momentum heading into the playoffs. This will be a great matchup of talent between two really good quarterbacks, both sophomores, Kason Young for East Robertson and White House Heritage quarterback Xavier Murray, who's coming off a week where he just threw a career-high 6 touchdown passes. Moving on, another really good non-region matchup is Springfield heading up to Sumner County to face Gallatin and the Green Wave. Springfield really needs this victory, even though it is a non-region matchup. There is still a scenario where the Yellow Jackets can find themselves in a 3-way tie in the Region 7 5A standings and need to go to a tiebreaker, which could potentially be who has the most wins this year. Springfield coming off a 35-0 win over Hunters Lane last week, where they gave Dustin Wilson, their head coach, his 100th career victory. They'll look to continue to stack that wave of momentum against Gallatin and a Green Wave team, that had a big win last week as well. Moving on, in Region 5 4A, Pro Cone will look to keep pace with Marshall County and set up a de facto region championship on Halloween as they travel to White House on Friday night. White House coming off a 42-6 loss versus Upperman last week, one of the favorites in Class 4A, the team that Pro Cone beat in the state championship last game. White House still scratching and clawing, trying to get its way into the Class 4A playoffs. They will face Creekwood next week, which could potentially be another de facto playoff game. But White House can do itself some favors this week if they pull the major upset over the Pro Cone Firebirds. Moving on, Houston County and a non-region matchup in Class A will travel to Cedar Hill to face Joe Burns. Houston County, a team that not really a lot of people have talked about. They were 1-28 in a 3-year span from 2020 to 2022. Since they've gone 10-9, and they are 6-2 on the year, facing Joe Burns, who is 2-6. Joe Burns has been fighting the injury bug lately. Quarterback Luke Miller and Amari Cotton still did give them a really good chance to be explosive on offense. Should be a good non-region showdown in Class 1A up at Cedar Hill, where the grill will be hot with some pork chop sandwiches and some bologna sandwiches as well. Moving on, another really big region matchup this week. We're going to hop right back to Class 5-4A. Creekwood, as I mentioned, looking to keep pace and set up a de facto playoff game in the final week of the year when they play White House. They will travel to face Greenbrier this week, who is still looking for their first win of the year as we enter Week 10. The Bobcats are 0-8 and coming off a 62-0 loss in Nashville to Pro Cone last week. As I mentioned, Creekwood really needs this one if they want any shot of making the Class 4A playoffs. And then finally, Innovation Academy, another team that is still looking for its first win of the year. They're 0-8. They will travel to the banks of the Ohio River up to Cincinnati, where they play Schroeder Padilla Academy of the Jaguars from up there in Cincinnati. They're 5-3. Innovation Academy, as I mentioned, still looking for their first win this year and their first win in program history. That'll do it on this week's edition of the preview. Looking forward to talking to you guys next week for the final week of the regular season.
Thanks, David. Greatly appreciate all of your work this season so far. We're going to take our final break of the day. Got a couple more previews to get to, so stick around here on the Main Street Media High School Football Preview Show, presented by the Tennessee Highway Safety Office.
He shoots, and he scores!
Welcome back into the Main Street Preps High School Football Preview Show here on Main Street Media Television. Don't forget, you can always download your Main Street Media Television app on your smart TV or on your iPhone, Android, Fire Stick, Apple devices, all of that. Main Street Media TV. If you don't have access to any of those, you can always go to mainstreetmediatv.com, visit our YouTube channel, Facebook pages, or of course on X, formerly known as Twitter. Make sure to check out all of our great shows that air each and every day. They are on demand, online, as well as live each and every week. So without further ado, got a couple more previews to get to. Let's go to Calvin White, who's up in Montgomery and Houston counties.
Hello everyone, this is Calvin White, sports editor with Main Street Clarksville, here to give you a quick preview of all the Week 10 high school football action in Montgomery County. We're going to start with the biggest rivalry in the county. Clarksville is at Rossview this week. Clarksville is 8-0, Rossview is 7-1. Clarksville has won this matchup 7 consecutive seasons. Rossview looks to break the streak and tie for first place eventually in Region 7 6A. Kenwood is at Kirkwood. Kenwood has won 3 consecutive games over Northeast, Northwest, and Dixon County, but Kirkwood is coming off their 46-6 loss to Clarksville in Week 8, so the Cobras will look to avenge their big loss there. West Creek is at Dixon County. West Creek comes in at 4-4, Dixon County 3-5. Dixon County coming off a big loss to Kenwood last week. Northwest is at Northeast. Northwest 1-7, has not won since their Week 1 win over Fort Campbell, and Northeast is winless at 0-8. Montgomery Central is at Station Camp. Montgomery Central comes in 1-7, Station Camp 3-5. But Station Camp has won 3 of their last 4 games and was only a 2-point conversion away from beating reigning 4A state champion Pearl Cone. Clarksville Academy is at Nashville Christian. Clarksville Academy has lost 5 consecutive games, and Nashville Christian's lone loss came in a 35-28 loss to Battleground Academy. Once again, I'm Calvin White, sports editor with Main Street Clarksville. I'll talk to you again soon.
Thanks, Calvin. Greatly appreciate what you have done this season. And finally, Cheatham and Dixon counties, where Casey Patrick is standing by.
Hi, how are y'all? My name is Casey Patrick. I'm the sports reporter for the Dixon Post and the Cheatham County Exchange. I'm going to give you a quick rundown into all the action we've got coming up on Friday night. We'll start with the game that I'll be at. Dixon County's hosting West Creek. Big region game there for Dixon County and West Creek, really. Creekwood is going to be on the road at Greenbrier. Creekwood has to win out to get into the playoffs. A little bit of an easier test this week as opposed to next week. They'll have to go to White House next week, but this week they've got Greenbrier. Greenbrier struggled so far this year. I believe they're 0-8. Over in the Cheatham area, Sycamore with the only home game in town. They're hosting Fairview on Friday. I believe that's their senior night. Maybe they're celebrating homecoming. I know they're celebrating something on Friday night. And then Harpeth is going to be on the road at East Hickman, and Cheatham County Central is on the road at Stewart County. Again, that's another big region game. Both of those teams are 0-8, but they can both get into the playoffs. So, not both of them. One of them get into the playoffs. So the Cubs, they got to go win at Stewart County. They got a chance Friday night. So that's all the games coming up this weekend. Y'all have a good evening.
Casey, thanks so much. Thank you guys for hanging out with us here on this edition of the Main Street Preps High School Football Preview Show. Again, don't forget tonight is the Main Street Preps High School Football Game of the Week. You can see it on Main Street Media Television. So please make sure to tune in, and you just may hear a familiar voice, or maybe not. We'll see. So join us then. Until next time, I'm Chris Yao for Main Street Media. Have a great day.
This is the Main Street Preps High School Football Preview Show presented by the Tennessee Highway Safety Office. Fans don't let fans drive drunk.